Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating equality, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
There's a huge amount of concern about Alexei Navalny after both the Anti-Corruption Foundation and also his family say they have absolutely no idea where he is, that essentially he is missing inside the Russian prison system. Now, a spokeswoman for Alexei Navalny, she said that he was supposed to show up for a video link hearing today from the jail that he's being kept in so far with a court, and that he simply didn't show up for that hearing. Now, when Alexei Navalny's lawyer asked what was going on, they were apparently initially told that there had been power issues at the jail where he was. However, upon further questioning, the authorities at that prison, called the IK6 prison, which is about 150 miles to the east of Moscow, said that he simply wasn't on their list anymore of prisoners who are inside that jail. Now, upon hearing this, the legal team then went on to ask other jails whether or not Alexei Navalny was there, and all of them said that he simply wasn't. So as of right now, Alexei Navalny remains missing as far as his foundation is concerned and as far as his family is concerned as well. Now, the big question, of course, is what could have happened to Alexei Navalny? And there's certainly several possibilities that are out there. One of them is that Alexei Navalny apparently was supposed to be transferred to a jail that has an even harsher regime than the one that he's been staying in so far. And it's not uncommon within the Russian prison system for prisoners who are in that transfer phase that they are out of communication, that they're not allowed to communicate. In fact, that's something that happened to Alexei Navalny when he was taken to the prison that he's been in so far in 2022. However, the Anti-Corruption Foundation also says that Alexei Navalny has been having some serious health issues as of recently, that, for instance, last week he fainted inside his jail cell and had to be given an IV. The other thing that the associates of Alexei Navalny are also looking at is the fact that his disappearance right now within the Russian jail system comes just at this almost the same time that Vladimir Putin has announced that he will run again in the upcoming Russian presidential election.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
After nearly 2 years of interest rate hikes, relief could soon be ahead for borrowers.
Fed will not hike interest rates further, and for all intents and purposes, this ends the Federal Reserve's rate hike campaign.
The Fed is expected to pause interest rate hikes following its final meeting of 2023 this week. And there's growing speculation that the Fed is close to cutting interest rates, ending its aggressive campaign to lower the overheated economy and tame historic inflation.
The Federal Reserve also needs to understand that we cannot continue to create a social divide of winners and losers with this division widening further and further because it could lead to societal instability.
Despite Fed Chair Jerome Powell leaving the door open for future rate hikes, several recent reports are showing inflation is slowing and the economy is cooling. Citing that data, some market traders, investors, and economists expect the Fed to cut its key interest rate at some point within the next few months.
We don't expect the first rate cut until June of 2024, and we expect 100 basis points of total rate cuts through the year.
The Fed's funds rate heavily influences borrowing costs for things like credit cards, mortgages, car loans, and personal loans. And economists say interest rates could begin to come down even before the very first rate cut.
They already are, as market participants, investors, and other policymakers begin to set expectations about where interest rates will be in the new year and then move throughout 2024.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Like the Advocate Channel on Facebook for the best way to get updated stories that advocate for equality, justice, our rights, and more. AC 24/7 continues with today's top 2 pick.
Donald Trump holding a commanding and widening lead in Iowa, just 5 weeks before the state opens the 2024 Republican presidential contest.
Thank you, everybody.
51% of Republicans now backing the former president, according to a new Des Moines Register poll, up from 43% in October. The shrinking GOP field has boosted Trump, who now holds a 32-point lead. The race for second place is a showdown, with Ron DeSantis at 19%, followed by Nikki Haley at 16%.
He's his own worst enemy by not being able to control his mouth. And that has consequences for governance and us being able to get things done.
On a weekend Iowa campaign swing, DeSantis and Haley sharpening their attacks on Trump's record.
We know that the economy was good under Donald Trump, right? But what we need to also remember was we went $9 trillion in debt during that same time, and we are paying the price for that.
Nearly half of likely Iowa caucus goers say their minds are made up. But among Trump supporters, 70% say they are firmly committed in their decision.
The first guy that ever got indicted whose poll numbers went up.
The former president is increasingly turning his focus to President Joe Biden, as new CNN polls show fresh signs of warning for the White House. In Michigan and Georgia, 2 of the 5 states Biden turned from red to blue, the president is facing alarmingly low approval ratings. Our poll showing fewer than 4 in 10 approve of his performance in office.
I will save democracy. The threat is crooked Joe Biden. That's the threat.
In Michigan, Trump leads Biden 50 to 40% in a hypothetical head-to-head matchup, with 10% saying they wouldn't support either candidate. That raises the question of a threat from a third-party contender. Asked specifically about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in Cornell West in Michigan, Trump falls to 39% and Biden to 31%. And in Georgia, Trump has a 49 to 44% edge over Biden, the poll found, with 7% saying they would not back either. The challenges for Biden are coming into sharper view.
Trump just talks the talk. We walk the walk. Frankly, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Follow the Advocate channel on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on stories that matter every day. We're now at our #1 story of the day. Take a look.
Well, the why we care factor here is because the CDC director and physicians nationwide are saying if you want to be in commission, not out of commission for your Christmas Eve, Christmas, and New Year's party, right now is the time to get those vaccines. With 2 weeks to go before Christmas, a message from the director of the CDC.
It's not too late to get vaccinated if you haven't already.
It takes about 2 weeks for vaccines to provide optimal protection, but even if you miss the deadline, experts say the shots offer some additional protection before that and well after.
To protect yourself and your family this holiday season, take the steps that we do every year.
According to CDC data, weekly hospitalizations for flu, COVID-19, and RSV are on the rise, but they estimate fewer than 2 in 5 adults and children have gotten the flu vaccine this season. About 16% of adults and only 7% of kids have gotten the latest COVID-19 vaccine, while about 15% of older adults have gotten the new RSV vaccine.
We know in the winter viruses spread more often. We've been tracking flu and RSV for many years, and we've seen that cycle in the winter. Things go up.
If you or a loved one are already sick, Dr. Mandy Cohen says the first step is testing.
The reason you want to do that is because testing allows you to know what you have so you can get treatment. There is treatment for flu and for COVID that could also save your life.
And as we look at the latest data, the main driver for hospitalizations in terms of respiratory illness, that is still COVID. The good news is that hospitalizations for COVID nationwide are still relatively low as we continue through the month of December. The only exception to that is in the Midwest, where some hospitalization rates in Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, for example, are moderate.
Thanks for watching the Advocate Channel's top stories. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Follow, like, and share, or check out advocatechannel.com for even more stories that advocate for you.